Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Ooh. Can you guys hear me now? Ooh. Can you Okay, how's that? Did I get rid of the echo and you guys can hear me now? Okay. Oh, you still have an echo. Okay, I don't know. I think there's got something to do with so what oh, I think it has something to do. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry guys. Usually I'm doing this differently and I don't know why. What if I do it like that? Oh, hold on. You guys still getting an echo? Can you still hear me? How are we doing for echoes? Can you hear me though? Okay. You're still getting yes and no echo. Okay, my guess is if you have it open on more than one device, you may have an echo. So some folks aren't getting an echo. This is frustrating because I thought I was like super profound for like 15 minutes. Oh my gosh, I don't think I hit that recorded. So I'm gonna actually restart and hopefully like I really kind of talk about all the same things because I think this is going to be really helpful for folks. So so apologies for that. This is getting recorded. I hopefully I can like cut out the first like the muted parts, otherwise you're just going to have to fast forward it. So so apologies for that. So what I wanted to say anyway, I posted this. I just decided I had one of these things where I woke up in it's like another I really was. I was apparently just talking to myself. I woke up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. because that's what happens when you're in your early 50s, right? You just wake up and your head starts going, you start thinking. I had a really fun summit trial. Well, I had a summit trial. Yeah. This is what it's about. Love-hate relationships with Summit. And I had a Summit trial over the weekend with Powder, and I had some thoughts. And I thought these thoughts, that is the way that I reflect and the way I kind of get right with everything. I thought other people might benefit from it, which is the reason why I wanted to do this. So for those of you, because I know I posted this in a couple groups I don't normally post very much in. So you may or may not know me if you're logged in. You guys, you probably do, but if you don't, I'll just quick introduce myself. My name is Stacy Barnett. I'm founder of Sensibilities Nosework. I've been competing in nosework since 2013, and I've been competing in Summit since the very first wave of summits. So there were like, I think there was one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. I was in the first East Coast summit, which was California, New Jersey. I was in it with Judd. I've probably done 25. This is my spiel I gave when I was talking to myself. Apparently, I've been competing at the level since 2018. 3 different dogs. I've probably been in like 25 summits in those years. It's a lot of years though, guys. I know it sounds like a lot of summits. It really is, but it's with 3 different dogs. Judd had 3 titles before I lost him to cancer. Brava, who's my 8.5-year-old, has 5 titles, and Powder, who's my 6.5-year-old, who competed this weekend, has 6 titles. So she was trying to go for her 7th. She's a very strong dog. And we ended up 6th place, which if you know about the level, right? Typically, if it's a full trial, the top 5 dogs title. So we ended up 6th place. And what's interesting is that the scores So our score was the same as 5th place, but we were a little slower. So that's kind of how it works. But there's like a bunch of people that were also in that kind of in that group. And by the way, this talk or whatever is not really for titling teams. This is really for the people that, didn't title. Which by the way, if you titled, huge congratulations, totally deserved it. Just I'm really happy for you. It's awesome. So this is really about the how do you kind of think about it afterwards if you don't. And which actually can be hard when you get close. So if you get close to titling or even if you don't, it's really kind of hard to kind of keep your head on straight about it. And so I want to kind of talk about that because I think it's helpful for people to kind of think about. Um, because with this level, it's hard because people kind of move from elite into summit, and you go from a level that is very much you really are competing against yourself, right? You really are and you can get those titles and you can keep moving and moving up and you start to see your scores improve and it's like, oh well, now you got your elite 1, your elite 2, your elite 3, your elite champion, right? And then you get into this level where all of a sudden it's like, okay, you got 28 people, 5 people get the ribbon, right? And the title, and you kind of feel like you either were successful or you're not. And that's the conversation I want to have is that that's not what it is, right? Because I want to kind of think about what success is. And this is the type of thinking that helps me. And I feel like other than the people that do the care and feeding for the level itself, I probably know more about this level than just about anybody because I've done it so much and over so many years with different dogs. And I've been successful at it, you know, and it's but sometimes I think people say, "Oh, well, she's definitely going to get a title." And I'm like, "I'm human. I'm human. My dogs are dogs, right?" And it just I have a good mental game which helps. But what can be hard, and again, you also get, by the way, you get in the level, you get to review your score sheets at the end of the first day, in the middle of the second day, and then at the end of the second day. And it's a hard level because in part because you kind of know how you're doing compared to, how many hides there are. And you also have a situation where it's 2 days, which is hard. And this level is hard. The hides are hard. The search areas are hard. It's a lot of pressure. This is really the only level where you're up against other people. That's hard. And it is hard. Is it fun? Usually. Sometimes. Sometimes it's not. But it's still fun if we kind of think about it from and work at it from our mental game. And what I can tell you, these are some things that kind of help me. Is that coming out of a search, right? If it's hard and I didn't feel like I found a lot, sometimes I'll say to myself, well, maybe that's all there were in there. Because a lot of times you do have these big, huge areas and you don't really have a lot of hides. Oh gosh, we had we had one search where it was the auditorium and we had 7.5 minutes and there were only 3 hides and we found all 3 hides. And then it seemed because of the HVAC that it seemed to me that there was more odor out there and powder just kept chasing odor. And so, you're working and you come out of there going, I'm like, I really felt like I missed like 2 hides in there. Come to find out we had found all 3 of them. And it's just like, it's one of these things where sometimes you're like, I feel like I didn't find enough. And then sometimes you get the results and you're like, how could there possibly been that many hides? Because you feel like you didn't really find enough. But what's important to also remember is that if you had a hard search, probably everybody else did. And in the end, from a score perspective, if we're talking scores, That's kind of what matters there. Um, the other thing that I think is really important to remember is that the title itself is usually earned or lost with, if you're close, right, by one decision or two decisions that are small. And I think from a reframing perspective, it's really important to remember that. It's the, oh, if I had gone left, not right. Which, by the way, I had that where if I had gone left, I would have had a very different weekend in one of my searches. Had I gone left rather than right. Sometimes it's something like that. And what's really important is to remember that that doesn't define you, right? It doesn't define success because you work so hard to get to that level and you put in so much training that you can't define success as the outcome of one decision. Because the coulda, woulda, shouldas are going to come and is going to bite you in the butt no matter what. And anybody who didn't get the title is they're going to be going through those coulda, woulda, shouldas. If I just didn't say alert, if I had just said finish, if I had just turned right, if I just didn't miss that one corner or whatever, right? That is a big part of the game, and we just have to, the hard part is that it's also, because I think I had a conversation with somebody who, I know in their debrief, someone was saying like, oh, well, remember it's a game. It is a game. And I want to kind of actually talk about that briefly. It is a game. And keep in mind, from for perspective, I'm also a handler on a search and rescue team. I have a certified canine. And so I do handle a dog in a potentially life-saving application. I say potentially because we haven't actually found anybody yet because we haven't been in the position where when we deploy that the person was in our sector kind of deal, right? But if you think of this compared to that, Summit's a game. I get that. And it's true. However, and there is a different level of pressure, but it's a game that we care about. And I think that's important too, is to it's important to keep things in perspective, but yet also realize that we also care about it. And it's expensive, right? When you go, you go to do a summit, because a lot of these things you have to travel to because, there aren't that many of them and you can only do 3 in a year per dog. That it's expensive. It can easily run you $1,000 for the weekend, easily. And that's not even gas, right? When you're talking like an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever. I travel with 5 dogs, so I have to do an Airbnb. So we end up, we care about it and we care about our outcomes. And that's okay, but I think it is important to kind of keep things in perspective that success does not mean you bring home a ribbon. And this is not me saying, oh, it's about this or whatever. I'm talking more along the lines of you trained hard, you showed up, you went through the weekend. That trial may or may not have been set to your dog's advantage because that's just the way things are. And you may or may not have made a call that put you out of the running for a title. But it doesn't mean you weren't successful because you did all that. That's amazing. And, when we start thinking about it a lot, sometimes it's just like making a call here or there. What's important is that it doesn't define your success. And I think that's the important part. And that's part of what I want to kind of take away out of this to kind of share this, because this is what I go through in my head. And I've gone through this before, like with Powder, and she's a really, really good dog. And I remember we went to it was Union, Illinois, which, by the way, was an awesome trial site. And we came in 6th place, missing it by 15 seconds. And I had to go, I went from there to, she had another summit. I drove to Colorado from there. And I think we went to Montrose, and then she was high in trial that weekend, right? But what was important to me to think about was that's 15 seconds over 8 searches. Like, that's almost statistically, irrelevant, right? So when we think about this in terms of, yeah, making that one call here or there, it's almost statistically irrelevant. Now, does it impact whether or not you title? Yeah, it does. But the title is an outcome of really good decision making and having a trial that is set to your dog's advantage, because that is a thing, and being in the right place at the right time with a well-trained dog. Um, there's an element of that. And it's just the way things are. You may end up at the end of a run order where all of a sudden, you've had a lot more aging than somebody else. It makes a difference. Um, Sometimes it's just luck of the draw on that, and it's fine, right? It's fine. Um, and if you do title, hey, that's amazing. That's amazing, and I'm so happy for you, by the way. It's a huge achievement. But if you don't title, this is not targeted at the people that do. This is for the people that didn't, which is the bulk of the people, right? That myself included this weekend, right? Is that it's important to kind of reframe that in your head, because that's what keeps us coming back, and that's what helps us to recover. Um the in recovering, so for instance, after the first day, like if you had a really hard first day, I know a lot of people at this last trial that I was at, that's one on the weekend, had the day was hard for a lot of people. And the hard part is to come the next day with a clean slate in your head. um some of the things that help me are, I come in and I pretend like it's a new trial. I do that. And the other thing that helps me is saying I can only find what I can find. And that takes a little bit of pressure off, because if we start getting into, oh, I feel like I need more hides, that's a really good way to manufacture those hides in your head. Um, so anyway, I really hope this is helpful. And so I just kind of put this post out there. Not related. I do want to just kind of mention I am doing a webinar, by the way, on January 15th with FDSA. This is not an advertisement, but I just want to kind of mention it. Is going to be called Bounce Back, which is it's Bounce Back, which is the overcoming the total sniff show, and I'm going to be drawing from personal experience. Not from necessarily this weekend. I thought this weekend actually went pretty well. I'm really proud of my dog. We had some good searches. We had some we had a search where, oh gosh, I do wish I went left rather than right, because we all have those woulda, coulda, shouldas. Um, but it's a trial. I also have a love-hate relationship with, and I really do actually really like the level. Not the trial. It wasn't the trial, it was the level. And it's in preparing and in training, the best you can do is to try to have a varied experience for your dog. But sometimes you're going to get into a situation where, I mean, for me, it was HVAC with a fast dog. So lots of air moving, and the way my dog works, it made it harder. And that's just the way it is. But then, we go out, and I posted a video. Some of you might have seen it, of her buses search, natural airflow. She goes out and kills it. So your dogs are all going to have strengths and weaknesses, and that goes for every dog. That goes for dogs that consistently do well and whatever. But the other thing is I just want to say this is a hard level, and I wanted to talk about reframing success in people's minds, because I think sometimes it's hard for people to do, and also an acknowledgement that we all really do care about how we do. um and I hopefully this is helpful. That was my whole purpose of this conversation. Which, by the way, I think I need a t-shirt. I was talking to Robin Grubel about this because she's got a store on her Canine Census is actually where I got this shirt. That's really cool. And I told her she needs a shirt that says HVAC is a bitch. So, because I'd wear it. Maybe not. We have to put like a little asterisk or something so that it's not, you know. Now you have to be careful where you wear that. Anyway, I still like the idea of a shirt like that, but I also don't know how her husband would feel about that because he's kind of an HVAC and plumbing guy. But anyway, I'm digressing. This wasn't necessarily meant to be like a Q&A or anything, but I'm really kind of hoping that people found this helpful because that's really why I wanted to do it. I just want to kind of talk about it because, like I said, I woke up at 3 a.m. with these thoughts going through my head, and you wake up at 3 a.m. when you're in your early 50s a lot. So, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you got something out of it. So, keep sniffing, keep your chin up, even if it's hard, and just remember that one minor decision or whatever, or one minor blip doesn't define your success. So, chat with you guys later. All right. Bye-bye.